Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Nerve Centre Presents Our Space in Place event here in the hallowed halls of the Lyric Theatre. My name is Hugh Odling Smee, and I'm delighted to host today's guests to discuss the past, present and future of integrated education in Northern Ireland. Before I introduce our guests, who have just arrived on stage, can I just do a little bit of housekeeping? We're going to go for about an hour today. There will be an opportunity for questions. They'll bring the house lights up and we'll have a roving mic and all that sort of stuff. So if there's something that occurs to you during our talk, please do keep it in mind. And the other thing is, if you could at least turn your phones to silent, we would be most grateful. So put them on stun for the remainder of our time today. So without further ado, I should introduce our guests who have arrived on stage next to me here. So originally from Hollywood County Down, Jamie Dornan is an award-winning actor, model and musician from Northern Ireland, best known for The Fall, the hit TV show The Tourist, and of course his latest role as Pa in Kenneth Branagh's Belfast. Jamie has in recent times delivered impassioned support for integrated education, and we're delighted to have him here today. Baronesa May Blood is an activist who from an early age was involved in the trade union movement as a shop steward for the Transport and General Workers Union, promoting equality for women at work. May was a founding member of the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition, and May is currently the campaign chair for the Integrated Education Fund in Northern Ireland, and was awarded an MBE for her work around integrated education. And finally, last but by no means least, Oliver Jeffers is a visual artist, author, and the lead artist behind Our Place in Space. Oliver's books, from How to Catch a Star in 2004 to There's a Ghost in This House in 2021, Oliver have delighted millions, bringing themes such as the environment, imagination, and the power of creativity into the lives of countless young people. In 2019, NICE announced Oliver as the Integrated Education Patron and Supporter, and Oliver is a proud past pupil of Hazelwood Integrated College. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel. Thank you all very much for today as part of this Our Space. Are you feeling comfortable? Is everyone okay?
Yeah, feeling very comfortable. Thank you, Hugh.
Good. May, I was going to start with you, if I may. So I wanted to ask, we sort of think of integrated education as developed and fully grown almost now. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you, when you were growing up, what was education like in Northern Ireland?
Well, I went to a little school in Sandy Row, and past 11 plus. I wanted to go to Methodist College to be a school teacher, but my mum and dad couldn't afford the uniforms. So I stayed in Sandy Row and wasted the next 4 years of my life. I couldn't wait to get out of school. I hated school. Never could understand why you were there. But
well, you're a great advert for that attitude.
But anyway, once I left school, I went to work in a linen mill. And circumstances for education in those days was, well, if you were rich, you could afford a good education. If you were poor, you just took what was given to you.
Yeah. And so it was the class divide that was...
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
And in terms of division, in terms of religious makeup, did you feel that when you were at school?
No, I was born into a mixed area, fortunately, in Belfast. Right. I was born in just off the Roden Street there, and our next door neighbours were Catholic, across the street were Catholic. And in fact, when the Troubles started, that's how we can be burned out. My father went out to defend our Catholic neighbours, and they burned us out instead, Protestants. So it's all about... Then it was all about who could do the best over the other, you know, and it was a difficult
and I suppose those kind of experiences in terms of integrated education, you know, is that why integrated education is important to you?
No, I have to say, when I got the title, when I was elevated to the House of Lords, the first engagement I was asked was to go to Hazelwood to do the prize giving. Now, I'd never been in integrated school. I thought it was for rich people who could afford that kind of thing. I went to Hazelwood and I was blown out of the water. Kids from Sandy Row, North Belfast, all being educated together. There was no question of religion, no question of anything, orange or green or anything like that. We're just getting on. And through that experience, I learned that that's the way forward. Yeah. We have to give our children a good education, but a broad education, that they understand the outside world is not all about orange and green.
And just in terms of integrated education, as you've been involved in the IEF, what have been the main obstacles that you've seen to integrated education?
Well, the main obstacles has been the churches.
Right.
The Catholic Church and the Presbyterian Church, and I'm a Presbyterian. It's been really horrendous. I mean, they go into churches and they talk about reconciliation and then they come out and do something different. And I remember some years ago saying to a moderator of the Presbyterian Church about integrated education, he says, I wouldn't set foot in an integrated school. He says, it's handing over a Protestant school.
Right.
And that's sectarianism.
Yeah.
He didn't recognise it like that. But that's still there. The Catholic Church is very opposed to it. And I understand their reasons for it, but it's the future. It's the future.
And do you think that the churches slowly will come around to that
Yes,
sort of opinion?
I think the churches are slowly beginning to say their parishioners want this.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want their parishioners in the churches. And I think that's slowly changing.
Yeah, that kind of shift. Oliver, you were at Hazelwood, and did you feel that same feeling that May got when she went to the prize giving? When you were there?
What was that prize giving?
2000.
Okay, no, I had left by that stage. But no, you know, as an 11-year-old having, I think I actually failed my 11 plus. I asked my dad today, actually, why did you send us to an integrated school? And he says it was partly about that he fundamentally disagreed with the idea of the separation from such a young age, but also it was that he liked the way in which that school was going about teaching the individual, you know, rather than just sort of ramming the curriculum down your throat. But, you know, at 11 years old, it didn't occur to any of us to ask each other, are you a Catholic or a Protestant? I think it was, you know, third or fourth year before we're like, oh, wait a minute, you know, what are you? And, you know, at that stage, it was, you knew somebody. But, you know, back then in school, I think the primary motivation is to get out of doing as much work as possible and have as much fun as possible.
Meet new people.
Yeah.
Jimmy, you went to Methody, and Methody is a mixed school, although not obviously officially integrated. What was your experience of division in terms of how that, you know, did you feel it? Were you aware of it when you were at Methody?
I would have had very little recognition of division in Methody. I would have at primary school, because I was at Fullerton, which is one of the preps in Methody. And we would have had lots of close links to St Bride's, which was half a mile up the road.
Of course.
And I was talking about it earlier, actually, that first season of Derry Girls, where they go and do these cross-community thing. They go up we used to go to the Share Centre in Enniskillen, I think it is, with all the kids from St Bride's. And they had to buddy up with them and, you know, trust them and all, as if they were like another species, you know. Well, it was very, very, very strange. And be pen pals with them. So by the time we got to Methody, if you passed your 11 plus, you went to Methody. We knew a lot of the kids from St Bride's already, because we'd pen pals and whatever. So then that was kind of similar to what you're saying. The only reason I would know that they were not Protestant was that they'd gone to St Bride's and we'd had dealings with them before. Yeah. But it wasn't a thing. Like, it wasn't a thing at all at Methody. I think when I was there, it was probably a little bit more. Methody had a massive international community. You've got to remember too, massive Asian population, Indian. So that division never felt real. It certainly wasn't anywhere near the surface. I think it was slightly more Protestant when I'm there. I'm now told it's more Catholic than Protestant Methody. There's close to boarding departments, so not as much international students. But yeah, it wasn't a thing, and I feel like as time goes on, and jumping on what you were saying there, May, about the power and the influence of the church, that's weakening.
Absolutely.
I'm from a generation where I'm an atheist, so I've always struggled to. I don't identify as Protestant because that didn't mean I'm as much Protestant as I am Catholic. It didn't. We went to church, to Presbyterian church, until I was 6, and my grandparents were old enough to not realise that we were going to church anymore. And as soon as my sisters and I got to that age, we never went to church again unless it was for a funeral.
It's like when you, even in primary school and secondary school, when you do religious studies, you're taught about that one religion rather than religion in general and all religions.
That's what I found weird about Methody, as much as we're saying it was integrated and maybe not officially seen as integrated, but it very much was. And with RE and stuff, it was. I remember always thinking for the Catholic kids, must have been like, what's all this? It is. We're all thinking, what's all this?
It was only when I went to university and started reading up about, well, what is, what's the whole thing about the Muslim religion? What is it with Taoism? What is it with all of these other religions that are taught? And it just struck me that the fundamental teachings of all of them are pretty identical.
Well, I think they learn a lot more comparative religion now in terms of, you know.
Do they? I mean, this is, you know, going back
I think
to the
so,
90s.
but I mean, obviously, my experience is Latin College, and Latin College was, you know, kind of, it was religion and Christianity was very much part of the kind of the makeup of the school. But I mean, I know certainly during my time in the 80s, just to date me there, the Catholic chaplain took quite a lot of risks personally to be there and to attend and to kind of, you know, give that service to people.
Yeah. Was that his choice as an individual, or was that a...
Well, I think so, yeah, and I think they were going against kind of, you know, certain instructions essentially, but I think it was that sort of sense that it was a school that represented everyone. And so you needed an element of everything that was in there, and so I think that kind of idea of religion as being, you know, religious studies being representative of things maybe started there, you know. But I think it's a difficult issue in terms of the place of religion and where it sits within the school.
But the interesting thing about that is it was mostly women in the Catholic Church who came,
who did that, yeah.
Sister Anna and that. And then we had a number of retired missionaries, and they came on board because they'd been in another part of the world and seen it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So they come on board, and that was a big movement. And Sister Anna was a power to be.
She was certainly a force of nature, that's for
Absolutely,
sure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Absolutely.
She was.
I remember during the Holy Cross dispute, she invited me up. She lived in the house just at the divide. Come up and stay with me, and we'll go out and fight them.
I wouldn't want to fight against them when they're scary.
Well, she was threatening Germans not to, you know, to hand over huge amounts of money, as I recall. Yeah.
But they've done a lovely memorial.
That's right, up at the school. Yeah,
Beautiful.
no, absolutely.